When we launched WiLD Leaders, we set out on this impossible mission. And the mission was to develop a generation, to invest in the development of a generation of courageous, convicted, and editable and sacrificial leaders. People that both had a sense of themselves, but also a willingness to change and to listen to the needs of the people that they serve. And that's a wild proposition, because so often we raise up leaders who have tremendous amounts of conviction, but may lack that editability, that willingness to change, or they may be so driven by what other people think that they lack that conviction. And so we set out with this belief that that was an important thing to invest ourselves in. And when you think about some of the most powerful institutions in our world, whether they are corporations, whether they're government leaders and organizations, or nonprofits and ministry-based organizations or universities, all these things, we like to focus on the causes that they represent that are so important in terms of impacting and changing our world. But the fact is that none of those organizations exist without leaders who are willing to step out and go first.
Yeah, in just about a year using this tool, what I love is that I see the confidence of my team growing, not just in themselves, but the people that they get to lead. But it's doing this cool thing for us as a team as well. We crave more feedback, and we're pushing together, growing together to move this thing forward. I love that.
If you had 1 year to prepare someone to sail around the world in a 35-foot sailboat, where would you begin? You might start by thinking about some basic skills or some resources that they would need, multiple sails, but certainly the ability to swim, the ability to deal with long stretches of being alone, or knowing how to communicate with ports of call along the way. We would do all of those things. And what's interesting, what we wouldn't do is we wouldn't take them down to the nearest dock, untie the ropes and push them off and say, have a good voyage. We would be very intentional about preparing this person, especially if they mattered to us. And what so often happens in the area of preparation and development of leaders is that instead of thinking about all of those things that are necessary in that preparation, what we do is we take them down to that dock, that leadership dock, and we put them in the boat, we untie the rope, and we've given them maybe one little piece of information or self-awareness, and then we push them off. And we are invested in this idea that we could do a better job of that we could provide resources, tools, support, and networks that would actually prepare that person for the journey of being a leader, for what it was going to be like when they stepped out and they went first.
I've used a lot of different methods to help people with their leadership, and what's different for me about the WiLD tools is that they give me the scaffolding that I need to have conversations with people, not just about their blind spots or where they're weak, but also about where they're already naturally strong. These people are natural leaders, and they need to know where they're already going to be successful. So that's what I love, is that it gives me the whole picture of the leader to help them kind of take their next steps, I think.
Every day, I meet leaders who are broken, who are isolated, who are alone, and begging for someone to make an intentional and calculated investment in where they're going and why. And we believe that we could have that kind of an impact if we could begin to surround them with resources, tools, and relationships where they would no longer feel isolated and alone, where they would have a sense of learning and growth and self-awareness that's building within them. And if we could build up those kinds of leaders, that could have a profound transformational impact on not only organizations where we serve immediately, but on our broader world, into conversations that are becoming increasingly complex and are going to absolutely demand leaders who can speak with both that kind of courage and also be editable and willing to change at the same time.